So okay guys, DTPK here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to set up Unity in the VrChat SDK. Now with that said, by the end of the video we're going to be making something very similar to this. I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up chairs and set up a mirror, as well as post your own little artwork inside your own little VrChat house. But yeah, with that said, before we can get to this point, you first have to download the VrChat SDK 2, and you also have to download the appropriate Unity version. I will try to link them both in the description down below. Just know they constantly work on these packages, as well as what version of Unity is compatible with the VrChat SDK. So if my links go bad or something ends up not working in the future, just know you may have to update to whatever version of the Unity they're using, as well as the SDK. But yeah, the first thing you got to do is download Unity and install it. Basically, you install it, set up an account, and when it asks you what you're using Unity for, just say as a hobbyist or something. But once you got Unity set up, you should have access to the Assets Store, and you should get a window very similar to this. If you get this window, you got Unity pretty much set up, so download VrChat SDK 2's development kit and wait for that to download. Once you got it downloaded, you can then create a new project. Something like this should pop up when you hit new. You want to name it, I'm just going to call this VrChat Home 3 because it's my third home in VrChat, so why not? Other than that, you want to change your location. I'm just going to move mine into the VrChat Home folder on my computer, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm just going to call this VrChat Home 3 or something. I'll just call it Home 3 for simplicity. So once you make a folder, you can navigate into it and hit select folder. So okay, now that we got that done, we can then hit create project, and our project should build and open up. Now while this loads, I'm going to say the hard part is almost done. All we got to do from here on out is import the VrChat SDK asset files, which will give us access to while uploading to our VrChat account, as well as some tools that will help optimize the map and fix certain things when it comes to, well, building our map. Well, this will take a while. Obviously, as you guys could see, I've been here another like 5 minutes since I paused the video. But while this is still going on, I want to talk about some of the things we're going to be doing in this video. So we're going to be actually optimizing textures, doing skyboxes, building a mirror, and some chairs. I don't know if I'll get around to showing you guys how to import the VrChat pens that let you draw in-game, because there are two different types from what I can remember. If I don't do that today, I will show you guys in a future video how to set up the pens. But yeah, for the time being, I'm going to try to walk you through the sizing of textures, how big things will be in-game once you make it in the Unity engine, as well as maybe set things up for Quest optimization so that your maps can work on Quest users' headsets. So okay, now that Unity finally opened up, I'm going to be showing you guys how to import the VrChat SDK. So you want to go up to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. Now once you do that, you just navigate to where the VrChat 2 SDK file is, double click it, and it should import into, well, Unity. As you can see, it's popped up here saying import Unity package, and it will automatically check just about everything that you need, so you can just hit import. Now, you could technically build your map before ever importing the Unity package SDK, I found out, but I like to import it beforehand because there are some things that it will want to have set up and some things that it will want to fix in your project usually. Plus, it just takes a few moments to install and set up, so I like to just get it over with. So I'm going to talk about what it's doing since it's talking about certain things while it's installing here, about scripts. Essentially, VrChat, the SDK comes with some scripts as well as some prefab files, aka like chairs, mirrors, and stuff that you can either choose to use or you can pull the scripts from them and put them in your own objects. Alright guys, it looks like it's just about done. We got our VrChat SDK installed. The SDK comes with some examples here, which we will probably use some of the prefabs such as the chair and stuff, just to rip the scripts out of them for our own custom chairs. But other than that, you will know you got everything installed correctly when you get the VrChat SDK tab up here in the window. So what we're going to do is just click on this tab in the window and hit Show Control Panel. This should pop up like this. You have access to your VrChat account here. I would recommend signing in. And once you're signed in, you can then move this tab over here into this little window just to sort things out. It makes things easier in the long run. But yeah, as you can see, since we're using VrChat SDK 2, you have access to building worlds and using triggers, and if you ever want to, you can even start building some very simple custom avatars. However, I'm not going to be talking about how you do that in today's video. I'm just going to be showing you guys how to make a simple house to start with. So okay, here we are in Unity. It's very simple to navigate around. It's a lot like playing a game. You can just right click and use WASD to move, or you could just right click to pan the camera around, or a middle mouse button to, well, you know, pan the camera around. Overall, very simple stuff, and the only hard thing you really got to learn how to do in the VrChat SDK, as well as, well, I should say Unity, is setting up your hierarchy. I like to put things in folders. I'm very folder heavy. You can just look at my Second Life account until I got folders for everything. But essentially, when you make something, you want to put it in a folder. So you can do that by just right clicking here in the hierarchy table window and then hit create empty. And this should make a thing that you can then rename. I'm just gonna rename this house. This is where all my house prefabs will go into. And I'm going to make another empty table here, and I'm going to call this one lights and cameras, because I want to put those two sample scene files that came in when you first open Unity up in a folder. So okay, now that we got our folders situated, what we can do is actually right click in our folder, go down to 3D object, create a cube. This should spawn a cube in, and we can start modeling our house based off this. Now, building in this is pretty simple. See these buttons up here? You could just choose to click on these if you want. I can click on the scale tool, which will bring up the scaling options, which will let me scale this cube however I like, or I can just push the hotkey, which is R, to do the same thing. Now, I'm just going to go back to my sample house here and see how wide it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's exactly 10 blocks like I thought. You want to go about 10 blocks wide for a simple house. You can go a little bit wider if you want, but since we're going to be basically copying and pasting this house, making something very similar, I'm just going to go off what the dimensions of this are. Well, it's 11 blocks wide, but it should be fine. I'm going to then scale it out this way, and I'm not really going to pay attention to the scaling too much here. We're just going to make something simple that works just to show you guys what to do. So okay, we got that done. I'm gonna flatten it out just a little bit more, and what we can do here now that we got our base done is we can clone it. We can go over here, Control C, Control V to copy paste, or you could just right click it, hit copy and paste. But yeah, now we essentially have two it's a square shapes. We're gonna then drag the one up so that we can start forming something that will look like our roof. From here, we can just push R again, scale it in on itself, and we can then line it up with the back of the house. Now, I'm not the best with Unity. I know there are pro builder tools and things you can install which make building a house a lot easier. I'm just showing you guys from like start to finish. You just installed Unity, you just installed the SDK, how would I make something simple? And well, if you want to go more complex than that, you can mess with pro builder tools and stuff, but I'm just not going to do that just because I know most of you beginner guys out there aren't going to do the same. So alright, that looks pretty good to me. Now what we can do once we make our roof is we can copy paste our roof just by going Control C, Control V, and you can even name these objects if you want, like wall for example. Or you could just leave it called cube, it don't really matter. But as you guys can see, I made a copy of this, and I want to turn it into a wall. To do that, you can go over here to the transform tab, I should say, under the inspector window. And we can start messing with the values. Most walls are 90 degrees, so I'm just going to type 90 degrees into one of these until it flips. And I did that wrong, so as you can see, there we go, 90 degrees, and we got something that's going straight up and down. That will then become our wall. So alright, I'm going to move this around, line it up with front and back pieces of the house, and what you can do to make the lining up easier if you're not using pro builder tools is you can look at the bottom and then move this one to match. You don't have to really worry about clipping, because in most cases, in most VrChat homes, you're not going to be allowed to leave the house area, or if you do, you're just going to fall and spawn back into the map, so most users won't see what's wrong on the outside of your house. But yeah, that looks pretty good, and what we can do from here is we can push R and scale this back down, and move it around with the move tool to get the walls just how we like them. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. Another tip is when you're trying to decide the height of something in Unity, you can just play around, guesstimate, and then upload, and if you don't like the height of your house, you can go back down, scale it again, till you get something more suited to your avatar or other people's avatars. I'm just kind of eyeballing this right now. I'm going for something around 4 blocks tall. As you can see, this is about 4 blocks tall, I'd like to say. So I'm going to use that for the height of my house. And from there, we just can duplicate this wall, copy and paste it on all 4 sides till we get something resembling more of a house shape. Now, like I said, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to go too fancy with this. That looks good enough for me just for tutorial purposes. So I'm going to just duplicate that wall, drag it out over here, and we got something that resembles a house with no balcony right now. Again, feel free to take your time, design whatever you want, and make it look pretty. Now, since we're going to be adding custom lighting and stuff to this house, I'm going to move the sun a little bit higher out of the way so I don't accidentally click on it, or you can outright get rid of it. It's up to you, that's your call. But as you can see, I just moved it out of the way, and what we can do now is we can close down some of these windows in our hierarchy here, go down to lights and cameras, right click, create light. I think I use point light in most of my houses. Yep, point light. And from here, we can then customize the color of our light over in the inspector window, or we can move it around and such using the transform options. Now I'm just going to go for 3 simple little lights. Let me fix this wall though. I just realized I had the outside showing. So I'm just going to make 3 simple lights just by making 1 light, copying and pasting it a few times. So this whole scene is lit up pretty much. Perfect. So now from here we can begin by texturing the items of our house if we want to. I like to just use the assets store. However, you can make your own textures, but since there are some things you need to do when adding textures in through the assets store that you guys might need to know, we're going to be adding the textures through the store pretty much. Just know the assets store is free, and when you make a Unity account, you basically get access to it. So I said we were going to make textures for our, house, right? I'm going to start by making a skybox first, because the skybox is probably the hardest thing to put in, and you want to have it optimized. So what I'm going to do is just type skybox in, go from popularity, change that to price low/high, so we get some free choices here, and as you can see, we got a few to mess with. I've already downloaded this one in the past, I kind of like it, so I'm going to use this one. Now when you see something you like, you just click download, and then it should pop up with an import button. Then you could just click on import, which will then import it into your current Unity scene. Just know with importing large textures using Unity in the assets store, depending on how large the texture is, your computer may have a struggle trying to import that into your project, just for like the first couple 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, as you can see, once you hit import, you should get something like this. And in most cases, you can get rid of a lot of the scripting and stuff. All you're really going to need is the skybox and its textures and stuff. But I'm just going to import all this for now, since I know this skybox works pretty good overall with VrChat, and there aren't any scripts that conflict with it. I know this got like 2 more textures to go through yet before we can import it into our Unity project, but I thought I'd mention this. I should have mentioned it at the beginning of the video. I will try to include timestamps in this video in the description, so if you guys just want to jump to one particular thing that you want to learn for how to make something in the VrChat using the SDK, you can just click on the timestamp and cut to that part in this video. So alright, it looks like it finally imported, and just to show you guys where it imported to and how you would add it, you would go down here into the assets window and you should see a new option with our asset that we downloaded from Unity. So to actually open up and add this asset to our scene, it'd be as simple as clicking on the skybox here, dragging and dropping it in. However, like you saw while we were importing, this is heavily unoptimized for VrChat. So how would we go about fixing this? Something I've noticed with this particular skybox, you can go into the demo folder, go into the textures folder, and you can select all these textures, and from there you can go over into the inspector window and change the max file size to something lower, which will compress the images. However, you won't lose a lot of quality here, trust me, and this should make the skybox more optimized for VrChat and lessen the load time for the user. So to do that, you just select all the images like I said, go over to the inspector, click on max size. I like to use 512, so I'm going to click on 512 and hit apply. Now this may take a second, but once it's applied the changes, we can then go back into our Starfield Skybox asset folder, or in your case, whatever Skyboxes folder you chose. And like I said, it will take a minute, so I'm going to be quiet while this does its thing. And that was a bit quicker than I thought. So what you can do is you go back to the asset folder, then you can drag the skybox out. And as you can see, our scene has completely changed. Even our lighting has changed slightly since we've done that change. But like I said, having the sun here is optional if you plan to have additional other lights in the scene. However, I'm going to keep it on because this is a very open air house. There's just a single roof. No really doors or not, so I just like to have the sun there because it looks kind of right in the final end result. But yeah, I'm going to do one more change real quick before we actually go into the VrChat SDK, go under Builder, and from here this will do several different tasks for us, such as adding the physics and a ton of other things. That way we don't have to manually do that, and it should just be ready and a physical object that our character can walk on. Now, I said we would go and start building the physics for this right away, but I actually kind of want to make this a bit more nicer than just a white plain box. So I'm going to add some materials to it. Since some of the stuff here comes with materials, I'm just going to add the ones that are already in the scene. If you want to use your own materials, you can do that easily just by going up to Assets, import a new asset, and import whatever texture you like. However, I'm just going to use what's already available to me and what's available in the asset store. So to actually apply a texture to any one of these little cubes that I've added to the scene, all you got to do is just drag and drop it. And as you can see, we now have a black floor, and I kind of want to go for a gold balcony like in my previous one. However, I think I'm going to try something a bit more transparent, just because I think that might look a bit interesting. And I think we're going to go with red walls. No, that's too much. There, we'll do some light like blue walls, and we'll make a transparent ceiling so everyone can look at the cool skybox that we got going on here. Alright, that looks good to me, but as you can see, we got a house, but there is no spawn point for our character. This will not let us build the scenery and physics for our VrChat scenes, so we got to actually drop in a player spawn. To do this, you can go down to the VrChat SDK. I believe it's in the examples or something. Yeah, it's in one of the VrChat examples under prefabs. You can just drag and drop VRC world out. That will be where our player spawns. You won't really see any kind of physical object, but you will see it in the hierarchy here. So I'm gonna go make a new folder in our hierarchy. I'm gonna call it VrChat objects or something. The names aren't super important. It's just to help organize where your things are at, especially when things like this are completely invisible. See, if I click off of it, you're not gonna see where I left that at. So you can just go over here into the hierarchy, click on it, then bam, there's our player spawn. Now since I'm planning to add our triggers and our mirrors inside near the side of the house and stuff, I'm going to put the player kind of out here in the open. and that looks good to me. Now from here, you could technically go under the VrChat SDK, and it will give you some warnings and will tell you about some things you need to fix. So the first one is layers. You want to hit set up layers for VrChat, hit do it, and then from there you want to set up a collision matrix. You want to hit set collision matrix as well, do it, and anything else that will come up, it should just automatically have an auto fix option. And Unity by default likes to turn on light map generation by default, and VrChat does not like that, so you want to click on auto fix. This is something new with the newer VrChat SDK, I think by default it doesn't do that. But yeah, as you can see, it will turn off the auto generation here, and we could just manually hit generate. And that may take a minute, and we're done. We can just close out of this window. And as you can see, everything is done. We can technically upload this world right now if we want to, and it will have physics and stuff that we can use and walk on. However, there are no VrChat props such as chairs or mirrors around, and I want to add at least a chair and a mirror in before the end of this video. And optionally, I'll try to add some markers in, but this video is going on pretty long, so I may just save that for a future video because they are a bit different from other objects that you can make in the VrChat SDK. So I'm going to go back to the house tab, and we're going to go into the prefabs tab under VrChat examples, and I'm just going to spawn in a mirror. By default, I think you should see it, but I think it puts it in backwards if I remember. So I'm going to actually wait. It's very hard to tell because I got only single colored walls. Yeah, it puts it in backwards as you can see, so I want to then flip that around by going into the transfer window here, and I think it's a 180. Yeah, that flipped it. As you can see now we got a working mirror, and by default if you were to spawn this in like this, it would be on all the time, and as you know in VrChat, high quality mirrors can lag out some users, especially on the Quest, so we're going to be adding a toggle to this. That way people can toggle the mirror on and off. And if you want a lower and higher quality mirror, I guess I could do that in a future video. I'm just going to show you guys how to make a standard high quality mirror with the toggle for now. But yeah, I think it's probably good that I didn't put that mirror asset in the house folder. I'm going to move it into the VrChat objects folder I made it. Again, the folders are optional. You can just leave everything splurged out here if you want, and it will probably work fine. But yeah, I'm going to put the VrChat mirror in there, and we're going to stretch this out a little bit just so it kind of looks more nicer in the house. I'm just going to do that. And what I like to do with mirrors, again, this is optional, is I like to extend them about onto the floor. Because when people like to look at their characters, they like to look at the whole character, not just the character from like a knee height and up, you know what I mean? So we're going to just build it all the way down to the floor, even though in like real life you probably wouldn't want that. That looks pretty good to me, so I think I'm going to leave it like that. And we might actually add some artwork to this scene by the end of the video, but for now, we're going to add some triggers in, so we could trigger this mirror on and off. But before we do that, I'm just going to go up to the inspector tab and click on this little checkbox here. This will turn the mirror off entirely. This is important because later when we add the toggle on, we want this mirror to be turned off when we join the house in-game in VrChat and not on by default. So we want it off by default, and from here we can add our game trigger, which will turn it on. So to do that, actually let me see where the mirror is at. You can just right click in here and hit create 3D object, a cube. You can really make anything be a trigger. As you can see in my previous example house here, I took one of these free Unity asset terminals and I turned those into triggers for my mirror. As you can see, when you apply a mirror toggle, you get a line that will point to right where the mirror is at. But yeah, let's go back to the current project. As you can see, I just made a cube. I don't know why it spawned way out there, but we're just going to bring that into the house. I would technically just go into the Unity Asset Store or make my own model for this button, but I'm being really lazy, and I know a lot of you guys may want to just make your own objects and things, and then maybe some of you guys just don't want to use custom objects, so I figured I'd show you guys just how to do it with the standard stuff in Unity. But yeah, as you can see, we got our box. It's a bit too big to be a button, so I'm gonna like just scrunch it down. I'm not really gonna even be precise about it. But yeah, we got a button. I'm just gonna make it barely merge into the wall so it looks a bit nice, like so. And from here, we can pretty much set this up as a toggle, but like I said before, you want to make sure your mirror is toggled off first before you set that up to be a trigger. So yeah, as you can see, we got our cube. We just click on it, then we can go down here into add component, and you want to look for something called VRC trigger. This is kind of weird that it remembered my last search result, but yeah, you want to click on VRC trigger. It will add a new trigger into your scene. Now, if I remember correctly, it's been a little while since I made the last house. You want to click on this little drop down, change it to on interact. However, there are various other options here if you wish to explore them in terms of setting this up. But I like to use on interact because when the player gets near it, either clicks it or uses their trigger to click on it, that will toggle it. So we're going to set on interact, hit add, and from here it will look for our mirror, and it won't know what to toggle. So we got to go back over here into our VRC mirror and under our objects tab here in our hierarchy, if you're making the same kind of hierarchy I am, and you could just drag and drop the VRC mirror into this window. So okay guys, this took me a minute, forgive me. I've actually remembered some steps out of order here, but everything I'm about to say is 100% right. What you do is once you create your box, create your VRC trigger and set it to on interact, you want to go down here to the Actions tab, hit plus, Basic Events, then click on Set Game Object Active. After you've done that, you will get something that looks a lot like this. You want to then click on Set Game Object Active, and from here, we can drag our VRC mirror just by clicking and dragging it, making sure our cube is still selected, and then it should just drop right into the Receivers window in this Set Game Objects Active Actions tab. As you can see, it is done. These two are linked. You can tell by the line going to the mirror, and if I were to go in-game in VrChat after uploading this, clicking on this will toggle this mirror, and this mirror is off by default. So that's how you set up a basic mirror. Sorry if it was kind of all over the place. I was having a bit of a hard time remembering how that was done, sorry. So yeah, what's left to do? What's left to do is we got to make some chairs. I think I'm going to use some prefab boxes that come from the assets store as our chairs. But if you don't want to do that, the easiest way to make a chair for VrChat is to just drag and drop one in that's already rigged in script in the VrChat SDK example here. As you can see, there's a chair. I could just drag drop this out, and we could call it a day there. But what if we want to make our own custom chair? Well, it's super simple. All you gotta do is just drag and drop whatever it is you want to be used as the chair instead. And when we drag and drop this in, we can just delete the mesh. So to do that, I'm just going to go over to the asset store. We're going to look up, I don't know, I'm just going to look for some simple boxes. I've already did this one before, so I know these look kind of cool. But yeah, you kind of want to stick to basic shapes, especially if you're doing importing Unity asset objects that are free to use. The more complex it is, the more you're going to have to decimate the mesh. Thankfully, this one, however, comes with very simplified mesh that's very VrChat friendly, so I'm just gonna download that and import it into our project. And as you can see, since the textures in this are a lot smaller than the skybox, it will download and import really quick. So okay, it looks like our assets are pretty much imported or about to be done importing. And as you can see, they're imported. We get a new asset folder, and I forget what it was called, Asset Store Originals, and we should have some new prefabs that we can mess with. But before we can import our props into the scene and build our chair, I want to recommend us to save the project before we continue on. We would hate for the program to crash and for us to have to redo everything that we just done and built. So to actually save, you can go up to File, Save As, or Save actually. And I'm going to go and save mine into this folder. It should actually put you into the right folder by default. I'm just going to call this Home 3 and hit Save. this shouldn't take too long at all, and we can go right back to working. So now that we saved our project, we can now continue going on with building our chairs. As you can see, I've downloaded some sample Unity Store assets that I plan to use as our new chair. I'm thinking I'm going to use this thing that looks a lot like a table, even though it's a storage container by what this definition is here. We're going to scale this down, make it about the size of a chair, and we're going to actually make it into a VrChat chair. So, okay, that looks pretty good to me, and you guys may be wondering, how are we going to turn this into a chair? Well, technically, you could throw a script into the item over here in the inspector and turn it into a chair, or even easier, we can just close these folders so we can see what we're doing. We can go under the VrChat example and spawn in a chair on top of it. Now, you may be wondering why we did this, and it will make sense in a minute, but what we're going to do is we're going to move this chair into a position that we want it to be in. And if I remember, you can hold control to spin the chair on angle so you don't have to free move it. You'll have it at the exact angle you need it. So we're going to line it up like so, maybe drag it down just a little bit more and stick it out a little bit more. But as you can see, we're going to actually make this mesh invisible, so this will still work as a chair. You just won't see the example chair, you'll see the chair that we did instead. This makes it a lot easier for positioning the avatar without needing to have to redo the script. And if you were to take a look over in the hierarchy when we spawned that chair in, it made a folder filled with other stuff. What we're going to do is I'm going to move all this here and we're going to put it in a new folder. I'm going to create empty, we're going to call this chairs and whatnot or something. We're just going to drag all that into our new folder. I'm going to minimize some of this other stuff so we can see what we're doing. Essentially, we want to go under the chair here, click on chair base. You want to turn off mesh rendering. We want the render to be completely gone. And we want to do the same with the chair back. And as you can see, we got our own custom chair. It's this box. When you go into VrChat, you click on this box, you're going to sit down as if it was that standard VrChat chair. Now that's just about basically it. We covered everything that we were going to cover in today's video, but I think we're going to do a few more things before we leave it off here. We're going to go back to the mirror, because I don't think I went over what to do with how you name this toggle, but it's super simple, so let's go and get it out of the way. We're going to click on our toggle, and if you want to name the toggle anything, if I remember, you just go under VrChat script, and you should see a thing in here that says interaction text. I'm going to call it toggle mirror, and sorry if you hear the keyboard. But as you can see now that we named that like that, when we go into VrChat and we go to interact with this button, it will tell us what this button is in an overlay. So okay, now that we got that done, how about we go and insert some custom art into our VrChat, well, into our Unity engine, I should say. So to import custom art, all you gotta do is go up to the Assets tab and to import assets. I like to make folders and put everything in the folder, but if you would like to just have it all here in the assets directory, that's fine too, from what I can tell. So we're just going to click on assets, import new asset. And I think I'm going to use one of these Yu-Gi-Oh wallpapers since they're fairly large, and I want to show you guys how you would downscale or compress the image to make it smaller so you can use it in your VrChat world and still probably make the world small enough to be used on the Quest. So I'm just going to select this image, put it in. It will take a minute, but as you can see, it's down here, and we could just use this as a standard texture. I could drag and drop this out right now, and any one of these little boxes that we made will turn into that texture. But since I'm going for kind of a poster look, we're just going to make a new box and put the texture on that. So okay, we got our box. It's not necessarily poster shaped yet, but all we gotta do is this. Shrink it down, make it a little wider, because this is kind of a wider picture. And you can just line it flush with the wall and drag and drop it onto that wall, as so. As you can see, we got a nice template for our poster, and to actually put this image onto this cube, all you gotta do is just drag and drop it. But like I said before, then the same thing with the skybox. We want to compress the image a little bit, so to do that you can just click on the image. It will show up here in the inspector, and from here we can change the max size. As you can see, it's fairly high. I'm just gonna bring it down to 102.4, which will lower it a little bit, but it will still look really high quality in game. So we're just gonna set that like that. We can even drop it all the way down to 512, but since this map is fairly smaller than that last one I showed you, I'm gonna keep the resolution a little bit higher, and we'll see how that fares. But yeah, I'm just gonna drag and drop the image now. Actually, wait, you have to hit apply. Be sure to hit apply first. Now that we applied that, we can drag and drop our image onto the box. And as you can see, it put the image on our box. However, our box is kind of upside down. So let's fix that. There we go, just a simple 180 in the Y direction, and it's fixed. So yeah, that looks like it's about it. We covered everything I said we were gonna cover in today's video. We got our mirror, we got our chair, and maybe we can add something else before we go, but I was kind of saving some of this stuff for a future video. But if you want to, you can experiment around here in the prefab section of the VrChat example, and you got options like portal. We could drag drop this in, and you could type in a room ID or a world name. Let's say we wanted to go to the hub, but we could just click on hub, and it's done. We got a portal here that should work if I remember correctly, so I'm just gonna leave it there. And actually, we're gonna move it a little bit farther back so it doesn't interfere with our mirror. And as you can see, we got a world. From here, we can actually just make sure all our stuff's in the appropriate folders that we want them in. And we can go over to the VrChat SDK, go under the build options here, and we can hit build and publish for the VrChat, or you could do local testing. However, I haven't ever got this to work with my Rift S for local testing, but don't worry about online publishing. It says publish, but you post it up online, and it always uploads as a private world that you could set public in-game. So don't worry, no one will accidentally join your world if you upload and publish. So just hit build and publish it for Windows, and it should just go up into our VrChat account. Just know this takes a really long time, and when it gets finally to the point that it's done, it will tell you to name your world and set a picture. And you could have done that beforehand, but I like to upload it first, and when it gets to the point where it says about the picture, you can just go back to the scene tab here and move the camera around so you get the appropriate view that you want to look at in your VrChat world. Then you can hit publish, and it will go up a lot quicker there. Well, that was actually a little bit quicker than I thought. I don't think it's up entirely yet, but we can name our world. I'm just going to call this tutorial world so you guys can distinguish it from my other world. And we can give it a description if we want to, and this will show up when the person loads into our world. And if we want to add a content warning, we can. And you don't really have to add a content warning if your world is a private world. Just know you'll have to add that if you're going to plan to upload the world as a public world. So I'm just going to choose the above information is accurate, and I have the rights to upload to VrChat. And before we go and upload this, like I said, we can actually go and upload an image. And as you can see, the camera is over here aimed at our chair. I don't want that, so we're going to go back to the scene. And we should now have a camera that just spawned into our world. We can click on that, and we can move it around. I'm going to move this in such a way that we can actually see some stuff about our world. That looks pretty good to me. I know our world is basically just a box. Feel free to add more to your world as you desire, and feel free to make it whatever shape you desire. If you want to use custom assets from the Unity store, it should be fine as long as they're low poly. If they're not, you may have to decimate the mesh in something like Blender, then drag and drop it in, just so it's a bit more optimized for VrChat. So okay, now that we set our camera angle, we can just go back over to the game window tab, and it should automatically update our image here. And as you can see, I've named everything, clicked the little checkbox, and we can now hit upload. So okay, I know this ain't done uploading yet, but I do want to say one more thing before I go. I will make a follow-up video on Unity and the VrChat SDK. I will show you guys how to make some physical objects that you could pick up, such as a prop gun or something, and maybe show you guys how to set up the pens. But for the time being, this video has gone on around an hour, almost 2 hours for me, so I'm gonna start wrapping it up. As soon as this gets uploaded, I'm gonna explore the world, show you guys that it works, show you guys what the scaling is kind of like. Hopefully I got it right first go, and from there, I'll make a future video sometime when I'm available. So okay guys, as you can see, the world is finally up. It took about an hour to upload, and as you can see, the world file size is really small. And while this video plays out, I do want to say some things that went wrong during the upload procedure. If you happen to have the world fail while uploading, sometimes it's just because VrChat is particularly busy and the servers go down. So I just had to re-upload the world again, and it went up successfully the second time. Some other things to note: if you throw some assets in from the Unity store that have custom scripts, sometimes they can interfere with VrChat and cause issues. However, in most cases you won't run into any problems. But yeah guys, I'm gonna leave the video off here with some gameplay of the world we just made. But for now, I'll leave this up to you. If you guys want a part 2, let me know. I'll make a part 2 with how to set up the 3D pens, and I'll also make some more Unity guides. But for now, I'm going to leave the video off here. DTPK signing off. Peace. I think my pet just committed suicide. What do I do about that?
Yeah,
Surprisingly well, where this face hugger print out. I'll have a video on screen for it, but it's a flex.